Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is Michael the Comic Nerd. Now, in a rare change of pace, I actually want to talk about comics. Specifically, in my desperate attempt to finally catch up on the huge list of things I need to catch up on, I finally finished Geoff Johns' run on Green Lantern. And since I am a huge Green Lantern fanatic, I decided I had some things to say about it. And if you're questioning if I'm a fanatic or not, keep in mind, I am such a Green Lantern nerd, I have actually a Green Lantern ring. Or a few. Or more that are currently hiding around. I have 2 autographed Geoff Johns books. There's a poster on the door over there. I could go on. But back to the point. Now, after reading the title of the video, I can already hear many of you getting up in arms. Well, what about Batman? What about Superman or Wonder Woman? And while I do love all those characters too, although New 52 Superman is still up for debate, it's Green Lantern who has been and always will be my favorite DC superhero. And today, I would like to talk about why that is and what the character has meant to me over the years. Now, it's only fair if we start at the beginning. So, I would like to take you back to the year 2005. I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I just got back into comics. I was mostly a Marvel fan, and I soaked up series like Ultimate Spider-Man and the Avengers, as well as the New Avengers. However, I remember reading in an issue of Wizard magazine, yeah, you remember that series, about a new, somewhat controversial miniseries called Green Lantern Rebirth. I don't remember thinking much about it at the time, but one fateful day I was in Barnes & Noble and saw a hardcover collection of that story near where I was browsing. On a whim, I decided to pick it up, and oh my god, did it blow my mind. See, I knew next to nothing about Green Lantern at the time, so I didn't know much outside what I saw in the Justice League cartoon. So I really only knew the basics. I knew who Kilowog was, I knew John Stewart, and I've heard in passing about Guy Gardner, I knew Sinestro and about the Guardians of the Universe, and I knew very little about Hal Jordan, if really anything at all. Granted, once I started reading, I caught up pretty fast, but man, when it hit me what Green Lantern was really about, I was hooked. See, what Green Lantern comes down to is that each member of the Green Lantern Corps has to quite literally harness their inner strength to save the day, to have to train and hone one's willpower. When I was a kid, the concept of willpower was very new to me, and it never really struck me just how powerful and important it really is, and Green Lantern was the first series to really teach me that. It taught me how to use willpower to conquer my fears and to never give up no matter how big and how daunting the task was in front of me. The series examined what it means to harness that power and how hard and how grueling it can be, but also how necessary it is to do so. There are a couple moments in Green Lantern Rebirth in particular that always get me. The first is when, in a desperate attempt to stop Sinestro, Green Arrow puts on the Green Lantern ring and just barely manages to fire one arrow from it, causing him great pain in the process. After they get away, Green Arrow just looks at Kyle Rayner and says, "Is it always like that?" And Kyle just replies, "Every time." The second one is a moment that greatly inspired me when I was a kid and continues to inspire me even now. Towards the end of the book, after Parallax, the embodiment of fear, we'll get to him in a minute, possesses the Guardian known as Ganthet, he quickly dispatches all of the other Green Lanterns except for the newly resurrected Hal Jordan, who stands completely alone against a nearly unstoppable adversary. From there, Parallax mocks Jordan, telling him that his efforts are useless and he needs to give up. But Jordan continues to stand his ground until Parallax belts out, "Give up, damn you!" To which Hal replies, "I don't know how." It's moments like these that not only taught me just how hard it is to hone one's willpower, but also how frickin' hard it is to beat someone who has it in spades. This was huge for me growing up, and inspired me to face down the things that scared me, even on the small things like asking someone out on a date or taking a test. I actually used to silently mutter the Green Lantern oath to myself as a way to give myself courage for whatever trial lied ahead. It sounds incredibly cheesy, because it is, but that's just how big of an impact the character had on me. But it's not just about willpower, is it? Green Lantern has expanded far beyond that with the introduction of Parallax, the living embodiment of fear. What could have been a simple cop-out so Hal Jordan didn't technically do the awful things he did, was actually a means to start a chain reaction that would change GL from an examination of willpower to an examination of emotions in general. with the red lanterns possessing the power of rage, yellow lanterns possessing the power of fear, pink lanterns love, orange lantern greed, and so on and so forth. Each one has their own unique identity and their own unique power set. And that's one of the things I simply adore about this series, and it's something you won't find in any other superhero book. It shows that not only are all emotions powerful, but all emotions are important, and they cannot and should not be ignored. Sure, with Batman, you'll find a great story about overcoming or using fear as well as intelligence to win, but emotions are rarely the focus. With Superman, you'll get a great story about inspiring others, again, New 52 notwithstanding, but emotions themselves are rarely the focus. But with Green Lantern, emotions are the constant focus and the constant obstacle they have to face, both literally and figuratively, and I've always found that very fascinating. By having that focus, it allows the story to examine what exactly it means to have certain emotions, and did so in very clever ways, like how the blue rings of hope only worked if a green ring of willpower was nearby, implying you can't have one without the other, or how the only way to truly understand rage is if you ever lost something you truly loved, or that hope is the only thing that can really get rid of rage. The list goes on. And it also explored how different emotions affected different people, either through the eyes of our main characters, or even just random bystanders caught up in the mess. It explored what rage meant from person to person, and love, and fear, and compassion. All of these were explored. Maybe not to the extent of, say, of serious drama, but that shouldn't belittle what's being talked about, and there was always a way in which it talked about these topics that always stuck with me. It feels like emphasizing the importance of these emotions is just not done that much anymore, and it's because this series did that I kept coming back for more. But I think the real appeal of Hal Jordan and the rest of the characters in Green Lantern is this. No matter what threat they faced, or how unlikely the odds of victory, they are never afraid to push themselves beyond what they can do to win. The series usually emphasizes moments in which members of the Green Lantern Corps, from Hal Jordan to Simon Baz, through sheer force of will, do the impossible time and time again. Not by luck, not by circumstance, but because they push themselves past their limitations to finish the job, even when literally everyone around them says what they are trying to do is impossible, which makes it all the more satisfying when they do. One of my favorites in particular is when Simon Baz tries to use the rain to bring her sister's husband back from a coma, even when another Green Lantern frequently tells him that the rain isn't capable of doing that. But he doesn't listen. He keeps pushing, he keeps fighting, and he nearly kills himself doing it, but because of that, he succeeds. I think this is something that none of the animated or live-action versions of the character have ever fully managed to bring to life. Green Lantern has always had this huge scope to it, but they always make the mistake of focusing on the power of the rings and what the rings can do, rather than the power of the people behind them, and how much strength they're exerting to do it. Because that's where the story is. That's where the fascination is. It's why we stick with Hal Jordan, the cocky pilot, so we can see what unbelievable risks he's willing to take to save the day. Or even Sinestro, and the lengths he'll go through to do what he believes to be right, even though we all know that it's wrong. If there's one lesson to take away from Green Lantern, it's simply this. It does not matter what forces weigh you down, or who tells you you can't do it, or that it's impossible, or that you should give up. You and you alone have the power to push back, and keep pushing beyond anything you ever thought you could do, and sooner or later, something is going to break, and you will see the light. This character has inspired me when I first read him, and he continues to do so to this day. He has given me the courage when I needed it, and he has given me hope when I need it most. It is because of these reasons and more that I say, in my humble opinion, Green Lantern is one of, if not the, best DC superhero of all time. So what do you think? Am I onto something, or am I completely full of shit? Is Superman the best? Is Batman the best? Oh, okay, Batman's always the best. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, if you excuse me, I actually have to still review That's My Boy. Wish me luck.